the planes. It's like, I saw on YouTube some people get gang stalked. They'll film it, they'll talk about it. It's kind of funny. It's like they'll go out, they'll try to catch their gang stalkers and like expose it. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna talk about some of my experiences with that. That's what I'm gonna do. I don't think I ever filmed it. Maybe I did once, but I never like uploaded anything. But after learning and doing some research on it, I saw people experiencing it. I just went to like the nearest park to see what would happen, and immediately a plane flew right over my head. And it started with that. Then over time, it's like every 5 minutes, everywhere I went, a plane would fly over my house, or like constantly they would. There was this one time, it's like they flew a plane right over my house, directly over, and sprayed a chemtrail. Just a big white line directly over my house. I remember I tried to show my mom. I'm like, Mom, look, these. That's what I was just telling her about. I was trying to tell her about the gang stalking shit. Trying to tell her about the gang stalking shit. And she didn't really hear me, what I was talking about. And then right while I was telling her, pointing at the line, another plane flew right over the house from another direction. It sprayed another chemtrail, and it formed a perfect X over my house. And, just still nothing, no response to that, which is cool. Just whatever. Eventually it became like people. They would just stare at me from like across the street, and they would just like stop and just stare with their dogs. Apparently those people are called walkers. That they're out walking their dogs, gang stalk you. So yeah, anytime I went to that park, immediately somebody would show up or was already there waiting for me and would just know I was there somehow. And they'd just stand there and stare at me, and they'd like walk around and then like stare at me from another place somewhere. And it's like if I walked up to them and tried to get close, they'd like walk to another location, just continue doing it. It's like this weird mind game. And there was another time, it's like I wanted to go to the park just to meditate, because there was a lot of trees there. This is where it started to become a problem, because I just wanted to meditate. And normally, like in the past, because that already had been going on for a while, like 4 months or something, anytime I mentally just told them, like, go away, they would just take their dogs and, like, leave the park and walk away, and they wouldn't come back. So I went to the park to do that. I mentally just sent out a little message like, hey, I don't want whatever the fuck this is. I'm just gonna meditate. They didn't listen to that. Somebody showed up, and right by the tree where I was meditating, this guy walked up, and he started spraying something, or like, I can't remember, there was like this weird smell, and it like made me feel weird, and like what the fuck was that? It made me stand up, and I looked at him, I was just all pissed. I started to leave the park, but he was kind of standing by like the exit, like along the sidewalk. I started walking, and then he started walking closer to me, and then I stopped, and then he stopped. Then I started walking again towards the exit, he started walking close to me, then I stopped, and he stopped. Just really awkward, so I just like walked like around him. So that's the first time it became a little bit of a problem. And then it became more of a problem over time when the planes got annoying, because the planes wouldn't stop. Usually if they were flying a plane over me, sometimes it would circle, sometimes it would fly right over me, then come back around and like fly over me again. Usually though, while it was like flying around me, or even if it was just starting to fly towards me, if I just mentally told it like, go away, it would fly in the other directions. Or if I would just like mentally send out a signal. It's like all the planes would just fuck off and planes wouldn't fly over me. But sometimes that started to work less and less. And I got to the point that it just wasn't listening to me at all, and the planes would fucking just fly over me all the fucking time. And because I experienced it so much, it kind of became a thing where sometimes, even when maybe they weren't flying a plane over me, I just was starting to assume that a lot of planes that would fly over me was them, when it might not have been. I don't really understand how it works. You know, maybe the planes are not actual physical things or something, or maybe it's all just timed, like they know what's going to happen in the future and they know when I'm going to think a certain thing. Or maybe they're fucking with my mind and they make me think certain things so that when certain things happen, I think that it's, I think that it's all happening in the moment, but it was already going to happen anyways, but they make me think that it wasn't, and that it manifested in the moment, but it was already going to happen, and they gave me a preconceived idea about it. Okay, and then, it's like any time, because I was a little bit afraid of them when I was younger, and all the gang stalking. I was about 17, and it was new to me. I was kind of a little bit afraid of them, so I was afraid to go out in places that I knew I would be alone, where they could get away with doing something to me. But I really wanted to go to this trail this one day, so I was like, fuck it. Even though I'm really nervous about this, I'm going to do it. I went out to a trail, and I walked down the trail for a little while, like 15 minutes, then I go to turn back around and leave. And then there's this girl with a dog, and she's walking towards me. And then she starts running at me. She gets a bit faster. She was about 10 feet away from me when she looked at me, and then she started running in my direction. Then when she was about 3 feet away from me, okay, about 5 feet away from me, she let go of her dog on the leash. Wait, I think what happened was she let go of her dog first, and the dog went ahead a little bit, then she started charging at me. Charging at me. And then she did it all the way until she was about 3 feet away from me, so I just, stopped while she was running at me. I just put my hands up, to, defend myself, and I had, a bit of a stance to have balance, for when she ran into me or whatever she was gonna do. She stopped when she got 3 feet away from me and grabbed her dog by the collar and crouched down. And then a bike drove by, rode by out of nowhere and passed me. And in my mind, I'm thinking, that was a setup. They were trying to make me think that that girl was about to attack me, and they wanted me to do something while she was running at me, run back at her or something. And then while the bike's riding by, it's there would have been a witness, and then I would have gotten in trouble for that shit. And then she could have just said, oh, he's crazy, he's a fucking schizo, I was just trying to grab my dog because he got off the leash, or whatever. So, that's when I started being a little bit less afraid, because I was they didn't actually do anything. It looked like they tried to set something up. And then, the second time, I go out to that trail, and out of nowhere, I don't really know where this chick could have came from. She didn't have a dog with her, so it wasn't a walker, but she had these binoculars. She came out of nowhere. I knew she was a gang stalker because I was asking to get gang stalked. I was I want to go here, I don't want somebody to appear. As soon as I walked into the trail area, She came out of the fucking bushes, like to the side of the trail, like from the side. I was walking down the trail, and she had these binoculars, and she like walked past me and started walking like behind me. So I turned around, I was watching her. I mentally told her to stop if she was a gang stalker. She stopped, pulled out her binoculars, and stared off into like the trees. And there wasn't really anything to look at. She was more looking up at like the sky. I was just staring straight off into the distance. It's like, what the fuck are you looking at? Like, there's nothing there. Especially to like zoom in on with binoculars. Just very fucking random. And yeah, she like stopped, and then I walked past her. And then she didn't follow me that direction. She took another path around, and when I exited the trail, I was walking this way. Out of nowhere, she appeared somewhere else on another sidewalk across the street from me. And then she got a bit ahead of me, crossed the street, and started walking past me. And as she walked past me, I smiled at her. She looked at me. Wait, she didn't look at me, but she smiled back without looking at me walking straight. She smiles back, and then half of her face shapeshifts into like this disgusting, monstrous looking face. One of her eyes turned pure white. Can't really remember any details beside that. I still wasn't really freaked out because it just didn't feel like anything was out of my control. But yeah, and then the planes started, and she passed me. I keep walking. I go up to a restaurant, just a Tim Hortons. I sit inside. I get on the Wi-Fi, and I get a message sent to my phone from an unknown number, and it's just a link to the video, and the video was a YouTube video. It was a song, and the song was just called Hello. It's like, hello from the other side. And then I looked out across the street, and she was walking down the street. Then she like slowed down or something. I remember I walked out of the restaurant. Then she was like looking up into the distance, standing on the sidewalk, just out into the distance in the sky. And there were two planes coming this way, and she was signaling to the plane. She's like as if she's signaling to the planes to move in a certain direction, and the planes started spraying a bunch of chemtrails. I'm just laughing the whole time. Like, this is funny to me. I don't know why this is funny to me. It didn't make much sense, and I felt like they were just trying to fuck with my mind, and nothing sinister was actually going on besides just trying to make me fucking, like, lose my shit or something. What everybody is saying these people are, these are people that aren't aware that they're gang stalkers, that they're overtaken, they're possessed by demons, and I think that's cool, I guess. I don't know, it's interesting. And I know that's a thing. I know demons do come to you in the form of like humans. They'll possess humans, and they'll come to you. There's some powerful demons out there, and if for whatever reason you have beef with one of them, they'll possess somebody, and they'll do shit like walk up to you and just start talking a bunch of random shit, like words that you can't even make out, and then they might attack you. Like, anything could fucking happen. And that's when you need to look into getting some spiritual protection of some sort, I've heard. It's just stuff I've heard. I heard about that recently. I didn't know that was a thing until recently, but We're gonna go back in time again to another experience. This was probably early 2020, so I would have been about 18, 19 maybe, and I'm out late at night, just on a walk, and I'm meditating down by a water walkway. There's like this lake that I live by, and there's this walkway and a railing. There's benches. I was just sitting on a bench, and I was really enjoying just the peace and just solitude and just being alone. And then I see this guy walking by, and I mentally tell him, because I felt like he was a gang stalker because he was acting a little bit strange, and he just kind of looked like how they look. Like, they all have a similar look. They're always older looking and honestly kind of demonic looking. Gross. Yeah. I tell him not to mess with me, and then he walks up right to me, and he just starts mumbling. He's like, or like whatever the fuck he did. And that pissed me the fuck off really bad for reasons I don't want to go into. Just, it was really important to me that I was left alone for a certain reason. It doesn't matter. And I didn't say anything back to him. I think what I did was I probably just stared at him, but I know I didn't say anything back to him. And I just fucking stared at the guy, or whatever I did. Maybe I just ignored him. I think I stared at him, though. And he just walked away, left me alone. I wasn't over it, though. So I started stalking him. And I was doing a form of black magic that I came up with. And I was gonna try to, I don't know, I was attacking him with a form of magic. And I didn't want to get in trouble, so what I did is I wanted to scare him and stalk him and follow him around. And I was thinking possibly, maybe if I got him alone somewhere, I might eat him up. So at this point, yeah, I wait till he moves somewhere, and then I make it look like I just so happen to be walking in the same, like, location he is. And then, like, he's starting to notice something's up. It was like everywhere he goes, I just end up being, but I'm doing it in such a way that he doesn't notice. He's not really aware. This isn't the first time I did this either, actually. I did this one other time to get a gang stalker to leave me alone because he didn't go away when I told him to. So, what I did the first time is kind of the same thing. I just started doing the magic, then I walked up right beside him, and I walked beside him really, really slow, like really close to him, and then I kept walking. I was just trying to freak him out. Like, the magic that I was doing was supposed to put them in fear. And it put that guy in fear. He left the park immediately. But this time, this night, a little bit into the future, I'm just so happening to make it look like I'm going everywhere this guy's going, but slightly trying to make sure that he knows that I'm doing something, but I'm doing it in such a way that he has no proof. Like, he has no proof. Like, I can't get caught. There's no proof I'm doing anything, but he knows. I followed him around the entire night, doing the magic, and there was this one time we got somewhere, he bumped into me, I bumped into him right back, and then we just kept walking. I was pretty frustrated that he wasn't running in fear, nothing was working. But yeah, well, we don't need to go into all the details, but I followed him around the entire night until we got to one point where it was getting pretty obvious that I was following him all the way home. And then I walked past him, and then I saw there was, like, a cop in a parking lot down, like, the street that he was turning. And mentally, like, I just knew it was like, fuck, like, this is like another setup here. So I walked past him and I took another street and I circled around and I couldn't find him again. But I looked around for him for a while. Years later into the future, I left Canada for a little while. I get back and, I'm just in my town again, going for some walks, and I see this guy. I just see him walking down the street, and he remembers me because he sees me, and he just starts walking really slow, and then, like, he's pretending like he's not going anywhere. Like, he knows I was trying to follow him home that night. He didn't want me to, I don't know. I could just tell he was, like, being cautious, didn't want me to follow him, and wanted me to walk past him, or whatever. So I don't think this guy was aware he was doing what he was doing. Obviously, he was just possessed. But this went on for a while. One day, it's like, I just kept running into him in random places, and one day I just wanted to confront him, so I saw him again, I just stopped and I just started looking at him. I just wouldn't take my eyes off him, and then he walked up to me, and he started talking. Can't remember what he talked about. I don't think I said anything back at first, I just kept looking at him. And then, after talking for a bit, it's like, he's acting like a normal human now. So, I started treating him like a human, and wasn't just pissed at him, doing magic on him and shit. And we became friends for a little bit. I got his number, we hung out a few times. Shit got a little bit weird, because it's like I always had this weird vibe from him that made me feel angry. Like, I didn't like the vibe I would get from him, but we hung out a few times and talked a few times. And this shit gets weird because it's like they know that I wanted to kill him. They knew that I wanted to kill him. They gave me an opportunity. It's like he snuck me into his apartment this one night. He had an excuse for it. He's like, he just wanted to show me his apartment. For whatever reason, he wanted me to go into his apartment with him. And he snuck me in. He made sure nobody saw me come in. And it was just me and him alone in the apartment. And there's like this sharp-ass fucking pen on the table I'm looking at, and I'm looking at him. I just can't, stop looking away from his neck. I'm thinking how easy it would fucking be to just kill him and get away with it. I couldn't stop thinking about that, but I had no reason to do that. And I decided not to kill him, and I just kind of left. And then from there, I just started ignoring him. Anytime he tried to talk to me, I'd just keep walking, and yeah, he leaves me alone now. I haven't even actually seen him ever since then, really. I saw him once sitting out front of his apartment, but he didn't do anything. He just kind of sat there, and I walked by. So that was interesting. I don't really get gang stalked at all anymore. At first it started off out of curiosity, and then it became a little bit scary, and then it was fun, and then it got annoying, and then it got me real fucking pissed off. Then it became slightly dangerous, and then it ended. I just want to add in one more story. They kind of became my friends too. Some of them. Sometimes it was it was fun. Sometimes it was a piss off. But, I feel like it wasn't all bad beings. Some of them might have been angels or whatever, possessing humans or something. So it wasn't like all these beings that I was interacting with were negative. You know, I told my this spirit friend that I have that I think it would be really fun and funny if, like, out of nowhere I saw you possessing somebody, and if you just had the person doing a bunch of like martial art moves, like looking like they're getting ready to fight. And it happened eventually. I walked by and I don't know, there's just this person doing this weird like martial art dance, moving his hands back and forth, looking like he's getting ready to fight. Like I was a little bit nervous about it because I was like, what if he actually attacks me? So I didn't approach that guy, but then it started to happen more and more. And then I saw him down by the water walkway this one day. And he's like, he's rolling his eye back into his head, and he's like doing these weird things with his hand. And I think some people were looking at him weird, but the strangest thing is most people were just ignoring him. Yeah, I just walked by him, I'm laughing my fucking ass off, like, I find this shit funny. And then I see him again, and then he's doing those weird art moves again. This other day that I saw him into the future a little bit, I see him again. He's like doing the fighting stances and shit. So I'm starting to work up the courage, and I'm like, okay. Finally, I just walk up to him. I stand right in front of him. I just do this, and then all of a sudden he's a normal person, and I think he like laughed and like he's like, and he thought it was funny. But like before I did that, I remember we were following each other around for a little bit, and it was like a game. It was kind of fun. But yeah. And after that, I followed him around a little bit, and then he stopped. He's like, "Did you leave me alone?" I'm like, "Yep." And then that was the last time I saw him for a little while, but then when I left Canada and I was in Alabama, I saw him there. He was just on a sidewalk. I was in the passenger seat of a car. We hit a stoplight, and then I see the guy. He's looking at me on the sidewalk. He just points at me, and then he like looks away. He's still standing there, and that was fun, interesting. So they were kind of my friends too. So right now, thank you for the energy. I think the reason that they stopped actually was because the gang stalking started to help me, like mentally. Anytime I felt depressed or was down about anything or any fucking issues I had, all they had to do was fly a plane over me, and it would, like, bring me back to life. And it's like I was angry at them for sure, but I wasn't letting them have that energy. I didn't direct it towards them, because that's what they wanted. They wanted to take that energy. I directed it towards my passions, like stuff that actually does go against them, like my music and like my arts and all the shit that I do, like learning and just growing and expanding. And they didn't like that because it's like their own shit was backfiring against them now. And yeah, that's why they stopped.
Demons are emotionally damaged and weak. They don't actually have power. They can only take your power from you. They need your soul, your time and space. Stop allowing that. Take your power back. Grandmaster in this game, so many demons I have slain. I feel no pain, I feel no shame. It's only justice that I gain. Grandmaster in this game, so many